I'm on a little bit of a time crunch, but I have just enough time to film this video for you. What I watched in March. Hey, hello, happy April. Let's take a look back in my Letterboxd and see what I got up to. So beginning of March, like late February, early March, my husband and I went to a film festival because one of our films was being shown there, but of course we watched other films. We watched a feature-length film called Don't Die from 2023. And it's sort of like a crime horror situation. I almost don't want to tell you what it's about because it will spoil things, but it's like a black market kind of situation, but it gets really dark and it reminded me of Saw in a lot of ways. But that was fun. It was like filmed in like Tennessee and Alabama or something, which is cool. We watched a short film called Don't Look in the Closet. That was great. And it turns out we actually knew the guy, or my husband knew the guy who made it. We also watched a film called The Chair at the Edge of the Woods, and we met the woman who made that film, and that was really fun. It was just a really great, the film festival was a really great experience. Speaking of film festivals and independent films, I watched my friend Randall the Vandal here on YouTube. His feature-length documentary, The Steel Garden, which has just been released. So I will link that below. If you're interested in like Southern culture, folk art, outsider art, it's really, really cool. It's about this man who's built this huge sculpture in rural Tennessee. It really dives into the detail of why this sculpture exists and what drives him and what his life story has been, as well as what the people around him think of this work. It was really cool. It was a really fun watch, especially being someone who lives in the rural South. Like, it struck a chord. So check out The Steel Garden. It's free to watch, and Randall is encouraging everybody to watch it, pirate it, whatever. Check it out, especially if you're into documentaries. And one more thing I do want to say about The Steel Garden is it also resonated with me from like an amateur / independent filmmaker perspective. Randall didn't necessarily have all the equipment or anything like that, but he went out and did this. I love to see independent people getting out there and doing this. So congratulations, Randall. Next, I watched Stage Fright again from 1987, and I think this was the watch party screening. And like I said, I think I said this in a recent video, it was like better the first time, and it's just not hitting the same. Although I do really love this guy, David Brandon, is that his name? Yes. He's great, he's so evil. Okay, next I watched In the Eye of the Hurricane. What is it? Oh, aka The Fox with the Velvet Tail. My friend Josh A. Kagan gave me this on Blu-ray. And I had known about this film. This is a Giallo from 1971. I had known about this film because I have seen screenshots of the beautiful bathroom with the swan in the bathtub. Gorgeous. But I didn't go in with too much expectation, but I recognized many faces, including Jean Sorel is in this movie. And it's really good, actually. I quite enjoyed it. It was way better than I expected or hoped for. It reminded me of films such as Case of the Scorpion's Tail, Strange Advice of Mrs. Ward, or Orgasmo. There was a lot of similarities there. So I think this is a really good hidden gem for the person who feels like they've seen all the good ones already. I would encourage you to check this one out. It's fun. Next, and on my Discord's watch party, we watched The Case of the Scorpion's Tail, and this was my pick. And as always, just fun, classic, you know. Then I watched Eugenie from 1970, the Jess Franco film, which of course I did a review about a couple videos back that popped off for some reason, so I won't repeat myself here too much. For a sexploitation film about the taking of innocence and abuse of a young girl, I thought it had like depth to it, you know what I mean? Like, it still had this message you could take from it. Even though it's kind of an uncomfortable film for a lot of reasons, it's also very beautiful. Next, I watched Hospital Massacre from 1981, aka X-Ray. And by the way, this movie and Eugenie were gifted to me by Brian. Shout out Brian. I feel like I'm having to rush this video because like I said, I'm on a time crunch. I did not like X-Ray. It felt really, really like sloppy and clumsy and just sort of slapped together. You should read my Letterboxd review. I think one thing that the film did really well was tap into medical fear. The medical fear was there, but other than that, it left a lot to be desired. Next, I watched Schizoid from 1980, and that's because it was in the set with X-Ray. And this is starring Klaus Kinski. And I think he's using his real voice in this movie, and I can't understand anything he's saying. He's just mumbling. Anyway, and then the lady that's in this movie, I guess she's in Messiah of Evil, but I did not recognize her. The only thing that I noticed about her is her eyes are just black. And so Zach and I just kept laughing the whole time we were watching it, calling her the black-eyed lady, because it's a little freaky. It's kind of like an American Giallo in a way. It's about this woman who's going through a divorce, going to group therapy. Some of the women in her therapy group are getting murdered, and she's getting these harassing letters sent to her and stuff. And anyway, it's about finding out who's the killer. But this was much more enjoyable than X-Ray, even though it's like, I don't want to say that I don't enjoy slashers with grown-ups, but they're like boring grown-ups. I still found it to be really watchable. It's like a solid view. Next, I finally sat down and watched The Mask of the Red Death from 1964 because my girl Ashley sent it to me. Thank you so much. We shared a bond over this movie because audio from the movie is featured in a song by a band called Theater of Tragedy. The song is called And When He Falleth, if you are interested. I've been listening to it for like 20 years. Over time, I had discovered that it was Mask of the Red Death that was being sampled in the song, but I hadn't watched it. You know how it goes. 20 years passes, you know how it goes. Anyway, so Ashley sent me this, and then I finally watched it. It was really, really fun. The only Vincent Price I've seen so far is Dr. Phibes, so it was just so brilliant watching him play this sinister, cold-hearted character of Prince Prospero. And the rooms in this castle are just gorgeous. Oh, and there's lots of Satanism. Now, I read The Mask of the Red Death like maybe once in school. I'm not sure the like Satanism thing is so heavy in the story, but they went all out here and I loved it. It was great. Next, I watched Marie the Doll from 1976, which I also did a review on. It reminded me of Eugenie in a few ways, but I watched this because it has the girl from Don't Deliver Us from Evil is in this movie, and I've just been fixated on her. It's also directed by the same guy who directed Don't Deliver Us from Evil. However, this is much less of a horror movie. I suppose it can be horror adjacent. It's just this really, really weird, slow-paced film about a young girl who has the mind of a child, and she marries a man who loves dolls, so he kind of dresses her up as his own doll. And then things slowly go downhill. Did I like Marie the Doll? Kind of. Could I recommend it? No. And next is something I haven't talked about on this channel in a while, but it's still a large part of who I am as a person, and that is Degrassi, which is a show. So it doesn't pop up here a lot anymore because I'm mostly talking about movies, but they did release a feature-length movie called School's Out in 1992. So I've been watching Degrassi this week, and School's Out just came up in the rotation, but I was able to log it because it's a movie. It is not for the uninitiated, okay? We'll just say that. Next, I watched Dollman vs. Demonic Toys from 1993. Because I have seen Dollman, and of course, y'all know I've seen Demonic Toys. So I was just ready because Full Moon sent it to me when I got her. It was not good, and it's kind of disappointing because at the beginning it had promise. It wasn't so far removed from the initial release of Demonic Toys that I feel like the nostalgia and the atmosphere was still there. You know, the music was still there, and they even got Tracy Scoggins, who played Judith in Demonic Toys, to come back. So it showed promise. And of course the same dude who played Dollman. But it was just very slapped together. Not good story writing. It feels like they set everything up to succeed, and then the story came last, and it just didn't work. In my review I called it poorly planned and poorly executed stupidity. Next, I watched Babyoopsie because I thought if I didn't, you guys would ask me if I am okay. But I watched Babyoopsie and it was great. Have you seen it yet? Next up, I watched Vengeance of the Zombies from 1973. Because I'm gonna be on a podcast, I don't know how much I'm allowed to say or how much they want me to say yet, but I'm gonna be on a podcast discussing Vengeance of the Zombies, and I will be letting y'all know when that becomes available. That was my second watch of Vengeance of the Zombies, and it's awesome. God, I mean, that's like the perfect thing to show someone who is kind of unfamiliar with so bad it's good movies. And this is as good a time as any. I DNF'd a movie this month. Nope. It was I think it's like a Hong Kong movie from the 90s called The Untold Story, the Eight Immortals Restaurant. And I know that sounds really random, like how did you end up there? This movie came to my attention because I was listening to a true crime story on YouTube, and I listened to a lot of like dark and disturbing stuff on YouTube. Anyway, and they mentioned that a movie had been made about this case, and I was like, cool, let me watch it. Cause like, I would like to see how they handled this story. They did not handle it well. Well, the reason that I had to DNF this movie is because of an extremely graphic, mean-hearted, and disgusting rape scene. Okay, look, I'm trying to be open. And this is like a whole discussion. I know, because people are like, well, how come you can watch people get killed, but you can't watch people do that? Listen, it's far more complex. But anyway, I watched Eugenie, which was like, had some like drugging and taking advantage, and like, I'm like, okay, I can watch this, I can deal with this, but I cannot deal with what I saw in The Eight Immortals. I don't know what it is. It just seemed like it was made for people to enjoy. And that's all I'll say. So I DNF'd a movie, and I usually don't like to do that because I like to log my shit, you know? Anyway, and then in our Discord last night we watched Fatal Frames, and we had a bunch of first-time viewers in there, and it was such a blast. The commentary was hilarious. We had so much fun. Right when I get done filming this, I'm going to be watching The Strange Vice of Mrs. Ward on Sweet and Spooky's channel live. We're doing a watch along, and that's what I watched. Sorry if this felt a little rushed, but I realized that this is like the only chance I'm gonna have to film a video for you guys this week. So, hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you soon. Ciao.